Hi. Sometimes interesting things happen and it makes you go kind of, um, excuse me, could you repeat that again? So a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to somebody and I was looking at some connections I have on LinkedIn. Kind of sometimes you can make really great connections between people. And I was looking at a former client's um, profile and it went, oh, because she had put an emoji in her name. And she was from a few years ago. I'm fairly certain I might have mentioned it, but if there was not an emoji in her name at the time, it was not a high focus. So I might not have mentioned this. And like I said, it's been a few years, so I could have mentioned it and she had forgotten. But she had put an emoji in her name, and I popped her a little note. Because even if you're not currently my client, if you've been working with me before, I like you and want to protect you and your account. And I sent her a note going, did you know LinkedIn does not technically allow emojis or special characters in your name? This is a fact. And LinkedIn is very inconsistent about monitoring this and about acting on it, which is part of a little bit of a problem because people see that folks have done this and have gotten away with it for a long time. And why can't I? So my former client was like, yeah, thanks. I had learned this from a LinkedIn guru. And I'm like, it's against the terms. And I always suggest that people not do things that are against the term because they can be iffy. And this is where it gets interesting. She had reached out to the person who told her that, and that person said, yes, I know it's against the terms, but you'll only get a 24-hour lockout. Um, so I have a couple of follow-up questions. And this first question is to sort of anybody that uses any platform at all. Would you want to work with a trainer that tells you to do things that are against the terms and doesn't give you a warning? I have seen people do various things that are against the terms, and I always preface with this is against the terms. You're an adult. You have to determine the risks you want to take. And sometimes people take risks and sometimes they don't. And I generally tend to work with people that are not willing to take risks because they value what your LinkedIn profile can give you. So the person said, yes, I know. And you can only get a 24-hour block. So, first question to the general public is, would you want to work with somebody that was suggesting you take a risk and not letting you know it was a risk? And then my second question really goes out to I hey guys, I know you're here and I love you all. I am connected with a lot of other LinkedIn consultants and they're brilliant and I love them and they're fabulous. And I had tossed this up with some consultants I'm connected with in John Experience Group. Nobody can recall ever having heard that it's a 24-hour um, ding if you do this. Now, there were some people that remembered that back a while ago, both Richard Spirian and Leah Turner had lost their account, and both of these were over 24 hours. And so, did something happen somewhere along the way that has made it be like did LinkedIn actually ever come out and say that certain things will get a 24-hour banning? Or is that written down anywhere? I like to think that if somebody's training folks on how to best use LinkedIn, that they're aware of the terms and conditions. So, did that happen somewhere along the way? I would love to hear that. And the only cases that I personally know of are ones that were over a 24-hour let's call it jailing. So does anybody know of anybody that has gotten an exact 24-hour, you correct it and it's done? And then the third question, I think I said there were two. The third question is this: if LinkedIn is going to send you a note and say, correct this, because I have heard that they'll give you 14 days to change. And I heard that from Bill McCormick, who's can't remember who told him that, but at least I kind of trust him on this stuff. He's a knowledgeable, reliable LinkedIn trainer. He said that they give you 14 days to change it. So now my next question is, I know that I work with a lot of clients and I work on them using LinkedIn on a regular basis, want them commenting 3 to 4 times a week, posting 1 to 2 times a week, actually being active on the platform. Being active on the platform is the best way to get results. But let's face it, how many of us know people that are only on LinkedIn once a month? And yes, we know this because we can go in, we can look at your activity, we can see that you post once a month. So then what happens with the people that are given 14 days to change it, but don't actually see that notification? So my tips for today are, if you're needing to work on your LinkedIn, find a reliable, up-to-date person to work with and avoid people that are asking you to take risks that you're not willing to take. And I've been told I'm a pretty good LinkedIn consultant. And I also know that John Asperian has a list, I'll pop that in the comments, of LinkedIn experts to follow. Make sure you're following people that are up to date. Here's an actual pro tip, and I'm going to kind of cheat on this one. There's a guy named Kevin D. Turner, and he is sort of a clearinghouse for all of the changes that are on LinkedIn. So if you were thinking about working with somebody on LinkedIn and you don't see that that person's connected to Kevin Turner, there's a fairly good chance that they're missing out on some of the nuances and some of the changes. And you want to know that anybody that you're working with is active and up to date. So kind of keep that in consideration. Thank you for your time, and always be linking. The LinkedIn platform is an absolutely fabulous place to be active. Have a great day.